Hi, Slate. Can you hear me? Okay, are you ready? We're gonna start it soon. So I'm gonna have Donna comes up, do the intro, and then we're gonna pass it on to you, okay?
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Thanks, Sam. You what?
Welcome to today's webinar with eLotus, the leading provider of acupuncture continuing education. I'm Donna Chow, your host and your moderator for today's class. Today's class is sponsored by Evergreen Herbs and is titled Neoclassical Acupuncture, Level 1 Meridians, Part 1, presented by Dr. Slate Burris. We are honored to have hosted highly experienced acupuncturists such as Mark Mastrandrea, Mark Mazzard, and Ivan Zavala, who have generously shared their vast expertise and research on classical acupuncture in their clinics during our webinars. And I'll include the links to their classes in the chat room for you. I hope that you find these resources informative and beneficial to your practice. Our class today will run from 9 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, and we will have 4 breaks with lunch from 1 to 2 p.m. Before we begin, let's ensure that we are all set up for an engaging and informative session. For the chat room, please set your chat preference to everyone so that all attendees can see your messages and join in on the conversation. If you have any questions for our instructor, please type them into the Q&A box. And then after our class is over today, a quiz will be available the following working day, and I'll send an email to you guys when that's ready. Our speaker today is Dr. Slate Burris. He earned his acupuncture and Oriental medicine degree at Oregon College of Oriental Medicine, and later went on to earn his doctorate from the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. In 2008, he ventured to Mexico, where he established free clinics in the Oaxaca and Michoacan mountains. Slate is a dedicated student of Kiko Matsumoto's and Dong's acupuncture styles, and over the past decade and a half, he has refined his expertise through classical studies and extensive clinical experience. And as a result, he has developed the neoclassical acupuncture. This is based on a 6-element model and utilizes a palpatory technique to achieve instantaneous results on both the root and symptomatic levels. All right, guys, we are ready to get started and learn something new. Slate, whenever you're ready, please feel free to share your PowerPoint.
Okay. Can you hear me, Donna?
Yep.
Yeah? Cool. Just want to welcome everyone. It's nice to be here. And I'm sorry if I'm going to be coughing a little bit. I lost my voice last weekend. I gave a 4-day course and I just came back on Wednesday, so I'm very excited to have a voice for this for this class. I don't know why I never give myself acupuncture treatments. I stopped doing it probably a year ago. It's a long story. And then I finally gave myself a treatment the other day. But it is nice to be here, and it's actually a miracle, I think, that I'm here right now. I want to tell a really quick story. Let me pin this so I can see 1 second. I gave a course on eLotus. Oh, how long ago? Maybe 5 months or 6 months ago. And there was a horrible thunderstorm. And so we lost the internet connection. We lost, well, I didn't have power for the cameras or anything else. And so after that class, they went out and bought a generator, and they and got another line with a lot of bandwidth, just in case that happened again. Funny enough, is the music playing in the background coming from, what kind of music is it? Just to make sure it's not coming from me. I don't think it is. You hear music in the background? Okay.
We don't have any background music playing right now. It's probably
okay.
If you
maybe we should some kind of sad violin music, because the story I'm going to tell you is a bit sad. But I went out and got the generator and extra bandwidth on a cell phone. Yesterday with Sam, we did the test. Everything was wonderful. And then last night or this morning at 4 in the morning, there was an explosion where a transmitter blew up. And so we haven't had power here since 4 in the morning. So instead of meditating this morning, I went and I had to restructure all of my production to use up as little bandwidth as possible, because 8 hours is a long time. And so I finally got everything set up. So some of the quality of the cameras may be a little less. Some of the takes, the shots, I have like 5 cameras I normally use, or 4 cameras I normally use. We won't have as many cameras. If at some point the light does come back on the day, then wonderful. We'll have that. But I'm thankful, Donna. I'm thankful that happened. We had that horrible thunderstorm. And so I was able to take precautions. I can't believe it. The only 2 eLotus courses I've done, something's happened. And stuff happens every couple of months, but it's kind of funny. It goes out an electrical storm and now a transmitter blows at 4 in the morning. But I hope the image quality is okay. And I also hope, I'm going to check halfway through the course, just make sure we have enough bandwidth and power in my generator. Anyway, so welcome everyone again. I'm happy you guys are here. So this is kind of like the first 2 days of the foundation course in Neoclassical Acupuncture. I don't know how many of you have read the book, but at one point in my book, I mentioned in the introduction, I mentioned, oh, well, all of this got started by just some strange thing that I saw one day of when I saw how to open 1 meridian with 1 needle. And this course, these today and tomorrow, are kind of like an exposition on that comment I made in the introduction to the course. As Donna mentioned in the introduction, Neoclassical Acupuncture, the basis of it are the elements. And that's really where the real treatment is. Having said that, I don't want to belittle what you're going to be learning these 2 days. And you can write this down in your notes. What you'll learn after today and tomorrow is a way of doing a 1 needle treatment that should work in about 60% of the cases. And what do I mean work? It should get rid of pretty much all the symptoms a person has, regardless of what they are, at about 60%. I say 60% in order to manage expectations. Some of you will say it's more. Some always happens. Someone's like, well, it only works in 40. Maybe if you use it right, it should work in at least 60% of the cases. Having said that, that sounds pretty cool. Wow, 1 needle treatment that works in 60%. Sounds good, but what we don't want 60%. That means 40% of your patients may not be getting these amazing results. So, again, I say these are the first 2 days of the course of really a 21-day course. There's a lot of information in this course, and I'm going to say that things do get a lot crazier as the course goes on. But again, this is really centered on the meridians. Now, as I go over, I'm going to do, this course, I gave a version of this, like I said, a few months back, and it was a 4-hour course. So in many ways, this is the same course in many ways, but not all. This is going to be like an expanded version of the same, where I am adding some things. There's extra information. Some of the things I already gave in that course, I won't spend as much time on it. But it's kind of, I'm assuming, did a lot of you already see the original course, just to get an idea? How many of you saw the course I gave 3 or 4 months ago? I don't remember when it was. Oh, not many. Oh, cool. So this is good. It won't be rehashing things you've already seen for everybody. And if it is, it'll be a good review. So what I'm going to do here also is I go over just kind of an overview of Neoclassical Acupuncture. I want to start off with the treatment. With all the chaos of having to reset up my thing, I forgot to tell my models to be standing by, but I'll get them here. I want to, as I do an overview, I want to, show you these different levels of treatments. Again, the main thing in Neoclassical Acupuncture are the elements. And so I am going to spend a little bit of time talking about those in the intro, although we're not going to be learning how to do it. It's just way too much, for 2 days. so you are going to get an overview of neoclassical. Today, we're going to be looking at how to open one meridian with one needle. And I'll explain what that means, because there's many ways of interpreting that, opening one meridian with one needle. Also, tomorrow, we're going to be building on that. And that's going to take part of that system of how to open one meridian with one needle and expanding it how to open 4 meridians with one needle. And then from there, using it in a certain way with what I call energetic architecture, of how just to open up everything. And that's why this is a way of doing a one needle treatment in 60% of the cases. I've actually developed like 3 systems on 3 different levels of one needle treatments. I don't normally use this one, but it works and it's cool. The one I normally use is elements, and there's another level called branches. I won't be talking much about that today. I will be talking about the elements though. Let me see if we have, Amore? Dulce puede pasar? So like I said, again, I'm going to be a little more clumsy than normal. Normally I have this nice, I've got this thing set up to shift scenes. You can't even notice I'm moving around to shift them. It looks really professional. And like I said, I had to redo everything, my entire system here. And so I'm kind of doing this manually. So I may look a little clumsy sometimes shifting scenes around. Anyway, where is, let me 1 second here. Like I said, what happened here? Oh, here it is. Dulce. So our model has just arrived. So what we're going to be looking at, for the majority of this course are the meridians. And just to give a little perspective, the meridians in this system are the most superficial level, extremely superficial. What you're going to be learning today is the most superficial of these most superficial. Now that may sound bad and it may be a turnoff, but basically it's like just saying somebody's got their, why do I call it superficial? Today's, because you're going to be treating, someone has a gastro problem, they're a marathon runner, the gastro, well, you can just open the meridian and get rid of their problem with the gastro. Another marathon runner, fascia on the outside of the leg, one needle, you can open up the entire meridian, remove the pain. It sounds good, and it is. And I used to think this was the end of everything. I started giving a course, 12 years ago, I think, on meridians in Mexico, and that was the end of it. And I'll explain how it started developing. So this is, I call it superficial because it is sort of a symptomatic treatment. You're saying what meridian has the pain, and how do you wipe out that pain? Instead of some systems that might use imaging and stuff like that, well, maybe you need 4 or 5 needles along, some muscle representing the gastro. Well, this would be just put a needle in. Once you get the system down, you can use any extremity you want, and it just opens up the whole meridian without using any imaging at all. It's just open the meridian. So I want to do a little example of what we're going to be going over, and I'm hoping our model, I haven't checked her because of all the craziness of trying to put things in order this morning. I hope she has some meridians closed. If not, I'll close them so we can work with her. She always lets me. My wife is another model, but she really hates it when I'll show you the stuff she doesn't like. Well, because sometimes I have to normally everything's fine, so I have to shut down a bunch of meridians and cause pain so that we can treat something. But let's see if our model has something. 1 second. So let me do another change again. Like I said, I'm getting the hang of this. I normally don't do this kind of manually like this. So let's bring our model out. Dulce, puedes acostarte boquita arriba. Aquí. So first, I'm going to show you what you're going to be learning in these today, and then what you'll learn tomorrow, and then I'll go in later in the system. Sorry, the ball part of my head's cut out. I'm reducing cameras to cut down on bandwidth. Anyway, so let's just try to find. Oh, good, she's got something. So she's wearing black pants. They don't stand out much, but can you see her reaction? You can see her face there. Yeah. So what I'm doing, and I'll be showing you how I do my palpation on meridians, I just palpate. So the first point would be, what does it mean when I say a meridian is closed? A meridian being closed means there is pain along the length of the meridian. So, I think in school sometimes we did, maybe take the pulse and see if there's a problem with the meridian or the organ, depending on the system you're using. I just thought, well, if some classic says if there's pain, it means there's energy blocked. I guess you could call that a closed meridian. And so that example here, gallbladder's closed. She's actually not that bad. Oh no, other gallbladder's closed. Here, no. So she just has both gallbladders. So what we're going to be learning today is an algorithm. So let's imagine our model is not a marathon runner. ¿Tienes alguna síntoma hoy? No, she has no symptoms today. It's just painful when I press the fascia here. So what we're going to be learning today is imagine, she comes in, she's gotten back from a long hike, or she just has problems with the fascia. It would be how to open this with one needle. I'm just going to be using my fingers because I want to use her. We're going to be using her a bit throughout the day. So I'm just going to be showing you with my fingers. So let's say there's many things. This algorithm that we'll be learning today gives you various options. It's not just like a recipe. This is the point to open the gallbladder meridian. What I call this part of the course energetic engineering. So it's just seeing all the way the cables are connected. And once you understand that, there's like later on the advanced level, there's probably like 15 ways of doing this. But you'll be seeing 6 ways of doing it today. So for example, gallbladder's closed. One point I could use would be fire point of spleen. So you can see no reaction. Now watch what happens when I take my finger off. The pain comes back. So that's the wonderful thing about using your finger. And again, I'm not sure I'd recommend it for you guys yet because I've been doing the finger thing for 10 years. Some people or more. Some people, they're really good at it. Just the first time they do it, it's amazing. Some people are like, well, I do it, it doesn't work, the system doesn't work. This is not an integral part of the system. It's just for demonstrations with the model to not, since we'll be using her a lot today, I don't want to fill her up with needles. And I also want the pain to come back so I can show you there are other options as well. Another option I could use, let's say, so gallbladder is closed again. Another option would be like a little liver metal point. So that opens and we take our finger off and it goes back again. And so it's really simple. And later I'm going to be showing you today or tomorrow how to erase a needle. There's actually a way of doing a treatment. I'll go ahead and show you right now. So let's say I did this. So I'm going to do it so it'll stick. So you can see it's closed, yeah? So I'm going to do this in a way where the needle won't. Well, let's see. ¿Cómo está ahora? ¿Segura? Yeah, so it's open now. So if I wanted the pain to come back, there's actually a way of erasing it. And the pain comes back. So all I did was erase the last point that I used. And if I want to erase that, it erases the eraser. So we'll be talking about that later too. Once you get the energetic engineering down, there's all kinds of crazy stuff you can do. Yeah? ¿Y lo van a arreglar? The electricists are here right now looking at it. So looking at our light. So anyway, so that's good news. Our electricity. So again, I'm just showing you this really quickly is like, this is what we're going to be doing. But another thing, so she doesn't have many meridians closed. Right now, she doesn't have any now. But if we erase it, again, gallbladder comes back again. And we're going to need more meridians closed. She doesn't get angry with me when I screw with her. One thing, I'm working on a new type of like Kung Fu. I'm not a Kung Fu artist, but a way of, no, it sounds kind of bad. There's a way of shutting someone's meridians down so that you can have something to treat. Let me just see if I can do it with her. Yeah. So now all of her meridians just closed. So now I can show you one other thing, and I'll put her back. So if I want to do, let's say, just open up all 3. So now she has stomachs closed, bladder's closed, and gallbladder's closed. So you see you've got, you've got stomach, gallbladder, and bladder. Again, when I say closed, I mean I'm just touching. So I could actually use, let's say a spleen, we'll learn this tomorrow, a little point here, and suddenly everything opens. So, oh, is that hurt? Oh, 1 second. Let me change my angle. How about now? Pero duele un poco? Oh, it's my fingernail that hurts. I'm sorry. So, okay, boom. And aquí? Okay, it was my fingernail jabbing her. So I take my finger off, and now it's back again. So I'm going to leave her. No te sientas mal, no? Okay. So, so again, what we'll be learning today is how to open one needle with one meridian. And what we'll be learning tomorrow is how to open, I just opened 3 there, but how to open 4 needles with one meridian. Again, I'll also be showing you how to erase a point. It's like, erasing points actually comes in more useful when you're experimenting. You're trying stuff, you're testing stuff, because all the stuff I teach you here, this is not a religion. It's literally like just showing you a manual of, interconnections between meridians, different ways one can affect another. And all this stuff, you just need to try it for yourself and test and just say, does this really work? I've been doing this. I invented this my first year out of school. I found this the first year out of school, and I've been doing the Meridian thing for 15 years. It works every single time, but you need to see it for yourself. Also, one thing we're going to be talking about today, and this is the good thing that this, and I'm sorry, it's a half head. I've reduced my cameras. One other thing is, what was I going to say? Whenever you're, anyway, this treatment is a way of really reducing needles and what you need to do. And it's a way of literally knowing with 100% certainty each time you do exactly what needs to happen. And what's good about that is you're going to be using feedback to make sure you hit the point. For example, I pressed here the first time and only 1 meridian opened. I had to change my angle in order to get all 3 meridians open. So, I invented the system, but I miss points all the time. But the great thing is it takes 3 seconds to fix that. So you're there, oh, you missed it. Okay, change it a couple of millimeters, boom, you hit it. And so the good thing about this course today, I'm going to be spending a little bit more time on points. We didn't have much time in that first one. And so I gave you the system, showed a couple of points, but then it's like, all right, so what happens if I don't get my point location down? And what I see happens is people, whenever there's no feedback, if you've been just like throwing 15 needles in on a treatment, are you really sure, which needle was actually doing the work, and did I really hit the point or not? This system's extremely unforgiving. If you don't hit the point, you don't get the result. And it's like it's 1 needle. So the great thing is, whenever you miss it, you're gonna know it too. So you're gonna be able to correct that immediately. And so that's the beauty. It's better, they say ignorance is bliss, but ignorance doesn't make for a good treatment. You may be happy, you put 15 needles in, and the patient says, oh, I've never rested so much in my life, and you say, great treatment. And when the problem doesn't get better, maybe you say, well, I'm treating the root of your problem in 10 treatments, we'll sell you 10 treatments and then come back. There's no real pressure. Here there is, in a sense, because you have feedback. Every single point you place, the body's telling you, you just screwed up, Slate. Ah, good, you just hit it. And that's like having a great master by your side constantly. It's like, if you're a piano player, there's nothing better than having a teacher saying there's too much stress on the wrist, release the stress. Otherwise, you're just doing it wrong. But to have this body, which is the greatest master of all, telling you, you screwed up, you hit it, you're almost there, you're on the point, but you missed the nucleus, it has no price, because suddenly your ability to hit the points, just maybe it's been stagnant, like you just put a bunch of needles in, you're not really sure if you're hitting, and suddenly it just takes off, where you can hit the point within 5 seconds every single time. Anna's asking, are you feeling and seeing energy with the fingers on your right hand? Because it looks like you're touching with different fingers. No, I don't see any energy. I have no gifts whatsoever. 0. I don't see energy. I don't feel it. Do you see meridian energy? No. And I don't feel energy. And even if I did, I would ignore it completely. Because, even what if I could see auras? I can't. I don't see anything. But what if I could? I would ignore it because I don't care what I see and what I feel. Now, I'm not belittling instinct. I think it's one of the most important things in the world. But when I do a treatment, I don't use instinct. Well, there's a natural guiding, I guess, in any treatment, but I use the map, and if that sounds bad, maybe we could put it this way. How many of you, when you're going to go to the store or going to go out to eat, you're going to a restaurant you've never been to, how many of you would say, well, I'm going to use my intuition. I'm not going to use Google Maps today. I'm going to use my intuition and just see if I can find the store. Not many of you. Well, if you can't, or I'm going to find that restaurant. If you're not able to do that, for me, if you have a map, now, if you don't have a map, you need your intuition. But if you do have a map, you just use the map. I'm fallible. I can make mistakes. My intuition's fallible. God knows I've made many mistakes. But what you're going to have is a map to use. Now, the intuition comes in other areas. It's like the best way to use the maps you have, I guess. So intuition doesn't disappear. Anyway, but yeah, so there's no requirement to have any special powers. I'm not a Qigong master. I'm not I have no special abilities whatsoever. All I'm doing is using the system. It's kind of like, anyone ever read Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court? Or just imagine, some guy goes back to the past where people didn't have the technology or the knowledge, and then he uses that, and people think, oh, it's a wizard, kill him, and it's just technology. There's nothing there's no magical powers, there's no nothing. It's just a certain knowledge, and you just need to put it to use. Anyway, any questions about meridians? What we're going to be learning? There's a lot of questions, I'm sure. But does everyone understand when I say a meridian is closed, it just means, I've forgotten where we left her now. Oh, no. So if I say a meridian is closed, it means there's pain along the meridian. If I say a meridian is open, so all I'm doing is, oops, I hit it twice. I don't know what's going to happen now. Let me see. Oh, so if I say if a meridian's open, it means there's no pain along the meridian. It's that simple. It just means, is there stagnant energy along the meridian? And again, I'll show you what I'm doing with the eraser. I just like not showing you for the first hour or so because it looks like magic, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like doing a magic trick, and it looks really cool, and you think he's got special powers. And once I show you, you're like, oh, it's just that. It's that simple. So I will show you how to erase your points. But I want to teach you how to open things first. Anyway, let me switch over to, I'll keep her here for a second. So another level that we're going to be looking at. Let me open up presentation. Sorry again for the clumsiness and moving this over. Oh, I'm sorry, Karen. I didn't mean to say no pain. No pain means stagnant energy. No pain means no stagnant energy. Maybe I misspoke there. So thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, pain along the meridian means there is stagnant energy, and that's what I call the meridian is closed. If there's no pain, that means there's no stagnant energy, and that means the meridian is open. What if the meridian area tickles from touch? Mark, we'll talk about that. So if they're a meridian that really tickles and some don't, yeah, you could distinguish that. Personally, I think that tickles and pain, it's so important for an animal to run away from that which is painful and run towards that which feels good. For humans, not necessarily. We don't have discipline because we run away from pain, exercise or discipline at work, whatever. But for animals, it's really important to run away from whatever is painful and to go towards whatever's not, because normally that physical pain means bodily damage. And so, that's really important. And so I think these two things have evolved. Let me get this close. I don't like the way the camera's done. I'm gonna be bending over all day. Oh, can I come sit over here, Dulce? So whenever, let's say, imagine you tickle somebody. What does it look like? It's this. There's this movement inward. You're naturally protecting your internal organs. You're also causing your muscles to tense in the back, which will protect you from an attack from the predator. So it's this, when you get tickled, it's, you rarely see someone getting tickled and they are like, ah, ha, ha, ha. It's normally this movement of protection. It's the same thing with pain. If you pinch somebody, there's going to be this movement again. And you could say you're going back to the, what is it in the belly? What's that called whenever you're doubled over? The fetal position, and I guess it could be, but I just think in more practical, it could be just memory going back. I want to go to mommy. But I think there's a more practical aspect. It's protection, it's protecting internal organs, tensing the back. And when I was a tour guide in China, I went up to Wudanshan and I went to this Kung Fu school. And there was this guy, he was famous in the past, but now he's, overweight and hadn't probably done Kung Fu in a while, but he has this big school. And people were on vacation. And so they were like, oh, come on. And they took me into this room and left me by myself. And then the people that weren't gone on vacation came out and did this big show. The grand finale was some guy coming out and they broke a bamboo over his back. And what did he do? He did this. It's that you have to get, you're getting your spine out, protection, and you're tensing. There's some tension in the muscles probably. So tickling and pain are these two sort of parallel survival mechanisms, I think, that developed to protect the animal and to protect us now. And so, so tickling I do, but if it's general tickleness, like if everywhere you touch the person is ticklish, that's something else. That just means they've got some tickles, then there's ways of getting rid of it. But if it's like, gallbladder is really ticklish, stomach isn't, bladder isn't, or, you get one or two ticklish meridians, then I would count that. I would count that as pain. And I'm sorry, I can't see all the kind of comment because I'm trying to put up I know some people are asking in the comments and some people in the Q&A. And so I can only see half the comments and part of the Q&A. So if someone asked something, I didn't see it, I'm sorry. You can write it again if I didn't answer one of your questions. Anyway, so organs. When I talk about organs, what am I talking about? Well, it's just using the using the alarms in order to identify the organs. So what organ is affected? And again, we're going to be talking this about the course. I'm not going to be teaching this, but just an example. Let me just see. How do I, far, here it is. Okay, let's do a switch over to here. So she doesn't have any organs close, so I'm going to do something I shouldn't do. And I don't teach this to anybody because I don't want you to do it. But so I'm going to do this and see if we can cause, okay. So so for example, if I press the front lung alarm, sorry. If I press the front lung alarm, and it's painful, that just, it means there's something. I'm not going to explain that because it's in the book and I'm not doing this so you'll read the book. It's not the theme of today. But when I talk about, in neoclassical acupuncture, the organs, if I say, all organ alarms should open, all meridians should open, that means no pain in the meridians. That means no organ alarms should be valid. So here we have, something's here. Okay. So her back spleen alarm was closed. So I really screwed up her system. So let me see if I can undo this. One second. What now? I keep doing that because this is my latest experiment. I just started doing it 3 weeks ago. Like I said, I'm inventing this thing it's a way of Kung Fu where you can this isn't for acupuncture, and I shouldn't be talking about it here. There's a way you can shut down someone's system. For example, okay, so you can see if I touch her here, there's no pain. Like there's zero reaction. You can see I'm pressing here. If I do this, suddenly it shuts down. So you could actually go to someone. I got this because I had a student who was this Kung Fu champion or whatever, and he was on the table, and I started testing his outer walls, which are like Yang Wei Mai. And he was jumping all over the table, like vibrating, like he was in shock. And all it was touching Yang Wei Mai. And so I thought, gosh, if you could diagnose, if you could actually see energy, and I can't see it, you could actually just, if you knew their Yang Wei Mai was closed in the fight, you just go and attack directly there, and the person doubles over. It's like there's no way. I've done this on a bunch of people now, kung fu people even, and they're like, oh, or else they start going backwards like this. It looks magical, but it's not, because it's just yang wei mice completely shut down. And so then I thought, well, I can't tell if it's shut down. What if you go attack some kung fu guy and you touch him and it's not closed? They'll just pummel you. Well, what if you could shut it down from a distance and then you attack, and the person, well, he would double over. All right, so let's get rid of it. So you're asking, what are you doing here? We'll talk about this. There's a way, what I'm going to be teaching, no. So there's a way, and one reason I'm showing you this now, it's not like a stupid bar trick. What we're going to be learning when I teach you the points, and you already know the points, but I'm going to teach it in a different way, where you can program your unconscious so that it starts participating. So the whole secret to all of the advanced levels is there's a process of getting your unconscious to participate. And when your unconscious participates, it's like magic. It's like you have a spirit or something helping you. It's not a spirit, it's your unconscious. But it's it's amazing. But if you're thinking, LI11, it's 3 tuned down or whatever, and you're using these processes, you're completely over on your left brain. So the secret is to move over to the right brain. And once you're in your right brain with your images, it's another universe. It's another universe to experience giving a treatment. It's another universe of the results you can get. So we're going to be taking some steps towards that today. Anyway, so everyone gets it. Everyone learned the front move, back shoe. You notice when I was checking the back shoe, I don't turn the patient over. There's a technique for testing them with the patient lying face up, and I teach that in the course. And actually that comes, I had one of my greatest professor, Eric Stevens. Was anyone here from OCOM and studied with Eric back when he was still there? I saw him do this once, and I was just like, Eric, what the heck are you doing? Oh, Molly, you're here, and Angela. Oh, it's awesome. We went to school together. So I saw him doing this. I was like, Eric, I did my first year of school. I started doing Tan, and I went on the, hey, Angela, and I went on the way of St. James, the pilgrimage of Santiago de la Compostela, and I would have gotten kicked out of school had they known, but I treated over 100 people, and I was so excited with Tan. I was like, God, this works. It's so amazing. And there were there was a treatment with someone that had been like in shock or something, and it didn't work. And I grew so disillusioned with it. I was like, I was thinking about dropping out of school after my first year and going to live in Brazil and just using Tan. And then I was like, no, there's something else here. But it's just like there's a certain process. Anyway, there's a certain process that just continues. And whenever I was in my second year, I was observing in the clinic at OCOM, and Eric came in, and suddenly he's like, oh, liver, you're jealous and you're angry with spleen. And I was like, what the hell is he doing? And people are like, be quiet. And I used to pester Eric to no end to see how to diagnose the alarms in the back. Anyway, so it's a really cool thing. And I always have my ode to Eric Stevens, because the technique of checking back alarms I got from him. I'll never forget the day Eric told me, he said, this is my third year. He's like, Slate, there's a lot of people here. Just be quiet for 5 minutes and I'll take your questions. Set my timer. 5 minutes later, it was Eric, so this. And I thought he hated me, but anyway, we talked later, he didn't. So when I refer to meridians, again, it's palpation. It's just palpating the meridian, the meridian itself. Yes, I'm talking about Eric. He's no longer teaching at OCOM, but he was at, what is it called? The school in New York, Tri-State. Eric Stevens. He was at Tri-State. He was one of the founders of OCOM. It's good to see some OCOMmies here. He was at Tri-State, and he was at OCOM. I think he retired shortly, like probably 10 years ago or something from OCOM, or 15. Anyway, he's amazing. So another level, the elements. And again, it's a little clunky here, my changing of scenes. Normally it's so nice. The elements. This is really the heart of neoclassical, acupuncture, or the elements. And just see if our model has anything. No, she doesn't. So I won't be going too much. I want to talk about them since this is kind of an overview, I do want to give you an idea. Eric Stevens, S-T-E-P-H-E-N-S, Eric Stevens. He was with Kiko at Tri-State, and that's what got me on. Someone said, Slate, if you really, he was the first person I ever saw palpate someone, like palpating the torso and the back. And I was like, this is crazy. This is what I've been looking for. This was my beginning of my second year. And I was a horrible, Molly, I think you know this. I was a horrible student. I mean, absolutely horrible. I would skip classes. I was going to get kicked out on my third year. Just because I just got tired of the same old stuff over and over. And once I saw Eric, someone mentioned, if you like palpation, check out Kiko. And I would just sit in the library at OCOM. There's like 6 Kiko seminars they had, and the old videos, and I would just sit there and watch videos all day, take notes, and then buy all of her books and look at them. And so it's kind of Eric who indirectly led me on to get me into Kiko. And that's what got me into palpation and absolutely obsessed. Well, the elements don't really have anything to do with Kiko, but again, if I hadn't fallen in love with her in palpation, there's no way I would have found any of this stuff. So the elements, again, I'm not going to go into the practical aspects because this is an overview, as I say. But I do want to say, Donna mentioned, si quieres. Gracias, Dulce. Te llamo al rato. So you notice here when I talk about Donna mentioned 6 elements instead of 5, and I just want to mention this because some people are like, oh, is this a marketing scam? Oh, it's so stupid. 6 elements, it's so stupid. So I just want to kind of go over this because I found out a way accidentally. It's a long story. How to diagnose an element. I didn't know how to treat it. I was using what I learned in school, like the generating and controlling cycles, and I couldn't figure out a way to make it work. So what is it? What's the use of diagnosing an element, and how do you even know it's that element if you don't have a way of treating it? And I was really lucky at the time because I was reading a book. I'm sure most of you have read this. Which one is it? It's by the Taoist Classics by Thomas Cleary. Have any of you guys read this? It's got Understanding Reality, Inner Teachings of Taoism, etc. Amazing book. I lived in China, I spoke Chinese, but I can't read any classical Chinese, and I have no desire to learn to read it. But it's just too time consuming, but wonderful translation. So I happen to be reading this. And I just want to, this is not, again, it's not the theme of the course. I just want to take 10 minutes, just so you know, since it's an overview and the main, core of neoclassical acupuncture are the elements. There's a couple books in there I was reading. Well, I was reading that book, but there's a couple books within this book. It's a volume done by Chang Po Tuan, probably around, I guess, 11th century AD. And he'd written these books on alchemy, which were meant for alchemists. It's not for acupuncturists per se, but it's on, the alchemy's drawing from this realm of cosmology. And that cosmology, so you've got this source, this cosmology, the alchemists are drawing from it. Ibrahim, yeah. So he's saying the PDF note is not in this order. Yeah, I actually added a few things. I'm sorry, last night. Because I wanted to be able, since the course is 8 hours, I wanted to add some new stuff. So you'll forgive me. There's a few extra things here. There's about 10 extra slides. He wrote this thing. It was a little complicated, kind of hard to understand if you've ever read it. Some schools will hide things by not saying it. Oh, you want the book name? The Taoist Classics by Thomas Cleary. He's out in Hawaii. And this is volume 2. I've got all the volumes, but this is the one I really love. The Taoist Classics by Thomas Cleary. This is volume 2. Thank you, Daijing. Anyway, so I was reading this. And so there's this guy, Liu Yiming, who did some commentaries on this, which there are a couple of discrepancies I talk about in the course. There's not time to go into a lot of the details here. And he gave some commentaries. And one of the things when I was, oh my gosh, the light's on. I can't believe it. We have light. This is wonderful. This is so exciting. So in 10 minutes, I'll use I think after lunch, I'll put all the cameras on, because after lunch, we have like 6 patients coming in. So I need to have better takes. So good news, our electricity is on again. So in this book, again, like I said, I found the first diagnosis I found the elements was metal. And which I took to be metal for long, it's long and drawn out. I explain it in the course. But whenever I tried to treat it again with generating and controlling cycles, didn't work. And around the same week or two that I was doing this, I read this quote, which changed my life forever. The metal man is originally the son of the family to the east, living instead at the neighbors to the west. Recognized he's called back home to grow up and espoused to a beautiful girl. So you got this guy, metal man, young, living out in the east. And he runs over to the west. He leaves home. So there's a separation here. He's separated from his original home. And there's this girl. He's recognized he's called back home to grow up and espoused to a beautiful girl. So there's this girl, Yin, over in the east. Now, some people have taken issue when I say, oh, well, what is yin? People, no, what is yang? It's so clear that what is yang? The texts say what is yang. I know in 5-element system, I guess what is yang? All I'm doing is just going with Chang Po Chuan. He's calling the metal man hiding over west, and he's saying the girl in the east. So I'm just taking him literally. East yin, west yang. So they get separated. Then he's called back home. So they need to come back together again. So the implication here is this, this axis that needs to be rebalanced between metal and wood. So that was the first thing. When I tried it, and again, that was the exact same day I tried it. This is where intuition comes in. The first time I tried it, I think, boom, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I figured out many ways of doing this. There's like, I don't use the original way when I put this to use. It was one way. I don't teach it to anyone because you can really ruin somebody. 2 people have gone to the hospital. There's a way of doing it, and I'll never teach anyone this. You can really screw someone up. The way I teach it, there's no way to ruin it because it doesn't deal with the polarities. Anyway, so that was the first one. And so all I knew about it first was metal and wood. And I used this and it worked like that. Amazing, like unbelievably. It was like miraculous. And I was in shock. I literally felt like Alice going down the rabbit hole. And I was like, oh my God, this is literally, it was some of the happiest moments of my life. But then I got depressed. I was like, well, wait a minute. Oh, here's the thing. So here's why I say metal was in the east or in the west originally. It's too much to talk about here. I'm going to go really briefly. This upper quadrant, I knew if I opened a lung meridian, this upper quadrant would disappear. Whenever I opened lower right quadrant, if I opened the large intestine meridian, the lower right quadrant would open as well. So that's why I started calling this metal and this wood. It's not the theme of today. The theme of the thing that what is important. There's other parts of these books. And like I said, it's not just understanding reality, it's the inner teachings of Taoism as well. It says the dragon comes from the Eastern Sea, the tiger comes from the Western. The two beasts have a battle. And so again, we have this thing, the dragon, and later it's going to call it a female dragon and a male tiger. But these two things from the East and the West, they have to come back and they have to meet up and they have to have this battle. There needs to be a balancing. So sometimes it's described as a love affair. Yeah, the metal man gets back with the woman in the East, and sometimes it's described as a battle. But what's necessary is this connection, this reconnection, and this battle. Marriage can be a battle too, but it's either love coming together or this battle. What the two imply are these two things meeting and balancing ultimately. And so another one, I can't help. I'll give you a couple more examples. On the top of Flower Crag Mountain, the male tiger. So it's telling us the West. male. He's on top of the Flower Crag Mountain. The mountain is high up. It's yang. He's a male, yang. The tiger, the west, yang. They're telling us just over and over again, yang, 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 yang. At the bottom of Sacred Tree Ocean, the female dragon howls. The bottom, yin. The ocean, yin. The female, yin. Now here comes something that's key. The yellow female naturally knows how to get them together. So they became man and wife. Once again, remember Metal Man and the girl from the east? Remember the two that come together for a battle? And now we have, oh yeah, I'm sorry guys. I had a couple Spanish things in there. I originally gave the course in Spanish. And when I did this PDF, I think I put a Spanish image in. So P is lung, L, gallbladder is, VB was gallbladder. Anyway, so, is everyone kind of getting the feel for that? It's pretty obvious they're telling us something. It's this east and west, and they're just screaming it at us in the top of their lungs, yang, yang, yang in the west, yin, yin, yin in the east. They need to come together, and it's the yellow female that knows how to balance them. And again, let's start taking some of this literally and not just, oh, this is kind of woo-woo mystical. It's the Chinese. They like saying these kind of weird things. What we have here is an axis being balanced on Earth. It's the yellow female that knows how to bring these things together. They need to be balanced on Earth. Like I said, the first day after I read this quote, and I don't remember who I did it with. Sometimes I remember everything about these moments. This one I don't. I think I was in a class when I did it. It worked immediately. Now, a problem. What about fire and water? Well, the same text and the commentaries mention this as well. Where the yellow sprouts grow, water and fire mix. Again, we're talking about on the yellow, on Earth. Where the yellow sprouts grow, water and fire mix. Now, back earlier, it was, oh, well, it's the yellow woman that knows how to get together the east and the west, the tiger and the dragon, so that they can become married. Now we're getting this yellow woman again. Yellow sprouts grow, water and fire mix. Now, it's so easy just to use basic philosophy we learned in school and say, oh, yes, Earth participates in everything because Earth, then you would have missed the magic. So let's take this literally. Let's just draw the diagrams out of what they're telling us. Water and fire mix where the yellow sprouts grow. This is the balancing beam, the balancing fulcrum, I guess, of this axis. So they're clearly giving us these two axes, metal and wood, where the tiger and the dragon come together, or east and west. And then we got fire and water, where it's like the yellow sprout, where the yellow sprouts grow is where this little fulcrum, this little axis is going to be balancing. Now, I found out how to diagnose water, I found out how to diagnose fire, and I put this to use, and oh my God, it worked. I was so excited. And these moments of excitement would very quickly give way to a moderate depression, because I'm like, great, I know how to treat it when I see metal, I know how to treat when I see wood, I know how to treat fire and water, but earth, what to do? And someone's already saying, what do you do for earth? Balance earth with earth? Nope. Now, the idea that came to me, so I was like, I'd get nervous every time I saw someone with earth. There was a sense of nervousness and excitement, because it's like, so what is, what do I balance this with? Well, immediately it came to mind. Does anyone ever have this kind of problem in school when they're telling you, oh yes, there's 4 fires. There's 4 fires. There's heart and small intestine, and then you got the little, pericardium and Sanjiao. Oh, and it's all fire. So I can go into this if you want. It's not the theme of today. But I was just like, okay, well, I had a problem with that, because what do you do with it? Like, when do you use one? When do you use the other? What I can tell you is this was a cover-up. I'll try to do this in 10 minutes or less. In the Ma Wang Dui texts, pericardium doesn't exist. Everyone know what the Ma Wang Dui texts are? They're these things they found in 1974, I believe, or 72. It's the earliest text in existence where they talk about meridians, where meridians are mentioned. There's only 11. There's not 12. Can you guess what's missing? pericardium. And to give a little backdrop to this, there's a 17th century or 18th century scholar who said, and I quote, well, let me read it from the book so I don't mess up on the quote. 1 second. And I start my book off with this. I guess one of the quotes in the beginning, because it's like, it's a way of answering this. And think about this. 1 second. Where is that quote? One second. Sorry. One of the pages is stuck. Okay, here we go. Here's the quote. Over the past this is from Ting Qin, an 18th century commentator on the Nanjing. Over the past 3,000 years, this has never been settled finally. Why should the misunderstandings and a deception of mankind be created just for the two key concepts of the pericardium and the triple warmer? Now, it's pretty dramatic here. He's not saying the misunderstanding and deception of acupuncturists. He's saying the deception of all of mankind for these two freaking organs. So Molly, you were not alone, you and me, and Ting Qin had a problem with this too. We have been deceived for 3,000 years about these two organs. Why? And so, in the Ma Wang Dui text, there's no pericardium meridian. Now, when the Su Wen comes around, they say, just like there was never a problem. Yeah, okay, there's a pericardium meridian, but there's no organ. There's no pericardium organ. It doesn't exist. There's a meridian now, but no organ. Here comes where this 4 fire thing comes from, this ridiculous, I'll call it, idea of 4 fires. The Nanqing comes about. And the Nanqing's like, oh, people keep talking about the 6th yin organ. People keep saying there's a 6th yin organ. Well, it's actually, there's 2 kidneys. And that second kidney is the gate of life, or gate of, what is it? Gate of life or gate of fire or something? Gate of life. And that is the 6th yin organ. Does that sound ridiculous or not? So what the Nanqing is basically saying is, don't worry about the 6th yin organ. Doesn't exist. There's 2 kidneys, and that second kidney is actually that. The Ma Wang Dui texts, you can get a translation. It's really expensive, the book now. I think it's a couple $100, but you might can get a paperback now. The Ma Wang Dui texts, MAWANG, Ma Wang Dui, DUI texts. And early Chinese medical literature is the name of Donald Harper, who did the first translation, I guess the first known translation on this. There may be others now, I don't know. But it's really expensive, this book now. It's a couple $100. But I think there's a paperback version. I didn't enjoy the whole book. I actually bought this. I spent I think it was $100 back then, because I was looking for something. I was looking to see if they ever said anything about pericardium, and they did, or they didn't. Anyway, so in the Nanjing, we're talking around 150 years after Christ, suddenly they say, look, okay, the pericardium does exist as an organ. The organ does exist, but it has a name, and this is key. It has a name, but it doesn't have a form. Think about that. Now, keep that in mind for a moment. I'll come back to that. It has a name, but no form. So it does exist. And almost as if they're completely embarrassed about what they just said, which, they have to do something. Here's the problem. Once you admit there's a meridian, every meridian has an organ. So that was the movement from the Ma Wang Dui to the Su Wen, is like, okay, if every meridian has an organ, then I guess we have to admit it. Okay, there is an organ. Yes, there's an organ. It's pericardium. And so the problem here is, if you say there's 12, why were they so not wanting to say there's 12 meridians? Once you do, there's also, and this is an implicit law, every 2 meridians has an organ. I mean, it has an element. Each element is assigned to 2 organs. It's assigned to a yin organ, and then it has a yang pair in the Su Wen. And so what happens when you finally admit, as the Nanqing did, they're like, look, there is a 12th organ. We're going to admit it, because so many people are talking about it. They even say, like I said, people keep talking about this, but stop thinking about it, because there's 2 kidneys. But then they're like, that's ridiculous too. And so and I've forgotten which issue it's in, but it's almost hidden in there, like they're completely embarrassed by it. They say, yes, but heart and small intestine and pericardium and triple warmer all belong to fire. And that's where that comes from. It comes from a quote, the first third of the Nanqing, in a little thing about pulse diagnosis, where they just group them all into one. Why? Well, remember, Ma Wangdui doesn't mention pericardium. Stu Wen came out and said it. Once they mention the meridian, the Nanqing says, okay, well, there is an organ too. Name but no form. If that happens, the next question is, well, then what are the elements to these two organs? So they come out in order to cut that argument off. Okay, there's four. There's four alarms associated with fire. And I always thought, not that it was ridiculous, I just thought clinically, how do you use it? And people, there's all kinds of answers people give. It's always, don't touch heart, or whatever. There's all these kinds of theoretical answers people give. So finally, Wang Bing, in the 8th century, releases a new version of the Su Wen. And in this, it's like crazy. He actually, and he says, whenever, the Su Wen is in a great state of annihilation. It's horrible state. I'm bringing everything back together. And he actually added, like what comprises 2/3 of the text at the end. And he says, this text was hidden because there was no one to teach it to. It was hidden away, locked away by the masters. And now I'm going to reveal it. And what does the text talk about? It says, from ministerial fire to imperial fire is one step. From imperial fire to metal or whatever, I'm rephrasing, is one step. From metal to water is one step. And they're using this like a sacred mantra, upholding the spaces between ministerial fire and imperial fire, between metal, between wood. There's the same separation between ministerial fire and imperial fire as there is between, metal and water or whatever. And he just goes down the list in the second part. And it's not to sell the book. It's all in the book. I don't want to take too much time with this here. But what you can see is Wang Bing even comes out and says, look, this was hidden. And after 2,000 years, I'm going to release this. And he's actually telling us there's 6 elements. There's so much more I could say about this. I could go on for hours. It's my favorite topic. If you ever see me in a bar over a mezcal or tequila, I can't stop talking about it. Anyway, so they're even telling us there's 6. But this isn't how I found this. Here's what happened. So I didn't know what to balance Earth with. Here's Earth. This is where you find it, in the belly. Now, if we take pericardium and sanjiao as the opposite, whenever it was time to treat Earth, to balance, so I was using pericardium and sanjiao. Again, it's a little bit complex, the treatment, but I plugged in the algorithm. So there's an algorithm for doing this. I just plugged in the 2 variables. Whenever the variable came to what do I balance with Earth, I plugged in triple pericardium and triple warmer. And you know what happened? Boom, it worked immediately. But immediately, and I was just like, oh my God, there's 6 elements. And I didn't invent 6 elements. I think Wang Bing was telling us there's 6 elements, and I show in the book and in the course, I show in the book of documents, they talk about 6 elements. It's all over the place. There's 6 elements, and if you think of this structure is this universal structure. You find it everywhere. This is not Chinese. I mean, it is Chinese, but it goes way beyond. It goes way beyond. Vanna is saying, can you use 2 elements to balance one? I'd say it gets pretty dirty there. You can balance with 1. Why would you balance with 2? Also, I'm just following what, literally, I was just following what the text said. If the text had said, metal man gets married with 2 women, the woman in the east, and he also gets married with water, well, I would have done that. So I wasn't trying to break any new ground here. I was just trying to use information that people already had, which maybe they just weren't wanting to give out, because they were trying to cloak this in kind of, these weird riddles and stuff. So could you use 2? No, I don't think so. But the thing is, when you go towards a 1 needle treatment, you can't, it needs to be streamlined. And I don't want to go too deep here. There's a thing called Occam's razor. Use as few variables as possible in any theory. Cut out any extraneous variables. So if you can do it with 1 element, don't do it with 2. Now, if 1 element didn't work, then you could do 2. What happens if you open a meridian? Well, a meridian gets opened if you open a meridian. These are different levels of treatment. So there's a level of meridian, which is superficial, level of organ, level of element. And so are there any Slavic people here? Anyone from Russia, Poland, from the Slavic world with us today? Anyone? Anyone? I'm asking because I'm curious if anyone knows. Stanislava, do you know what this statue is on the left? Some of your forefathers may have worshipped this statue. It is Svetovid, the god Svetovid. The old, it's an old god, prior to the baptism of the Rus. This statue was used in these rituals. So here you have Svetovid up top, that four-headed god. And I'm not recommending a return to paganism. I can't draw on this. Normally I can when I have my other setup. I'll try to get the setup for the second half of class. But here Svetovid's on the top, those faces, the 5 faces of Svetovid. In the middle level is the level of human. So you have heaven and earth, heaven up above, earth down below, and you've got these 4 humans, and you actually can see the breasts on one woman. Remember the metal man and the woman in the east? Well, you've got a breasted woman on one side, and boom, and you've got a man on the other. So you've got, can you see this? You see what I'm talking about? You've got these axes, and you've got a male and a female on one axis, and a male and a female on the other axis. A man and a woman, man and a woman. I mean, I got chill bumps all over my arms. I've been talking about this for years now, and I still get chill bumps all over every time I talk about it. This is something that, again, this is Chinese, but it's not particular to Chinese. There's nothing in a universal structure. There's no cultural limitations. You're going to find the same structure, these 6 coordinates popping up everywhere like wildflowers. You have the God up above, heaven, earth. You've got the man, 2 axes of men and women. Now let's look at this. Does anyone here from Mexico? You'd have to be from Mexico, or else have gone to some tourist sites to know what this is. These are the flying people of Papantla. Has anyone ever seen the flying people of Papantla on the right side here? The flying people of Papantla. This is an old, back in when the Spaniards arrived here in Mexico, this already existed. And so you got this guy 30 meters up in the air playing a flute. He's talking to the gods of the 4 directions. I think it's god of death up in the north. I believe it's god of agriculture in the south, or flowers, god of flowers in the east, and Quetzalcoatl, the god of the wind in the west. What's he doing? He's petitioning the gods. He's up in heaven without physical limitations, and he's talking to the gods, the 4 directions, trying to bring about balance. And as he's up there playing his flute to enter into this altered state where he can have access to the unconscious, this pole begins turning. And so these people are tied to these ropes. And as the pole turns, the ropes begin to unravel. And as they unravel, the people begin to descend to earth. So they're manipulating these axes outside of physical limitation. And we'll talk about this later. Once they do that, they move this structure, they bring it down to earth. And so these people descend down to earth. And that's the way of changing reality. I think they've lost it now. It's kind of done. They brought it back. There's a Cumbre Tajín where they do this. I'll explain about the 4 directions. There's actually an easy explanation for that. Very easy. In a little bit. I think I have it on the PDF. So they, all kinds of people are using this as a technology. It's not magic, it's a technology. It's a crazy technology. And here's another one. This same text. When the sweet dew descends, heaven and earth join. Where the yellow sprouts grow, water and fire mix. Let me say that again. When the sweet dew descends, heaven and earth join. Where the yellow sprouts grow, water and fire mix. Same phrase. They're giving the same importance to the water-fire axis as they are to heaven and earth. Can you see that in the same breath? They're saying where the sweet dew descends, heaven and earth join, where the yellow sprouts grow, water and fire mix. So, and for the first time, before they've been giving us these horizontal axes, now they're giving us a vertical axis. This is a vertical axis of heaven and earth, and it's where the sweet dew descends. We're talking about a vertical axis where the sweet dew descends. This doesn't balance on the yellow woman. It doesn't balance where the yellow sprouts grow. They're drawing this out for us. They're drawing us out the 6 coordinates, and they're giving the same importance, water and fire, as they are to heaven and earth. They're giving it to us. They screwed up. Sometimes I feel like in a horror movie, imagine you've got a car and it doesn't have the spark plug. There's no spark plug in the car. And in this village, everyone's in a conspiracy, and they're not going to give you the spark plug because they're going to eat you for dinner. Well, they all know, don't give Slate the spark plug. Those are the acupuncturists, yeah? What if you walk over to the next village? They don't know that the spark plug is the only thing the only thing you need to be able to put this technology to use, your car. The spark plug is the only thing missing. Well, they're hiding it in their own way by using these, cloaking devices, these poems, the dragon and the tiger, but they gave me the spark plug. Are you following this metaphor? So it's like in this other village, I got my spark plug, I took it back to this other village, the acupuncturist, and put it in my car. Now the car works. And I got chill bumps. I mean, every time I talk about this, I get chill bumps. I'll try to show you today. You have no idea how powerful this is. This is not some metaphor. It's not some woo-woo esoteric bullshit. This is a technology, and it's freaky. And I'll show you today and tomorrow what you can do with this. It's absolutely unbelievable. Ibrahim, I don't want to get too much into theory here. Why the fire does not participate in part of heaven? I'll talk about that, I guess. Fire, these are just names, these elements. You could call it 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's like saying, why doesn't 4 participate with 1? It just doesn't. Ether, heaven is ether. I'll talk about this. One second. I think I've got this in here. I just don't want to take too much time here. So we're not, oh, I don't have the image. Oh, I do have it. So same thing here. You're getting the exact same thing here. Ether, heaven is ether. Heaven is that which surrounds things. And the Ma Wang Dui text, I don't have the quote here, but the Ma Wang Dui text, someone says, Emperor, what is the form of heaven? And it says, heaven has no form. Listen to these words. Heaven has no form. It surrounds all forms, and it is through this that the 10,000 things appear. Heaven has no form. What do they say about the pericardium? Pericardium surrounds the heart. It has no form. Triple warmer. What the heck's a triple warmer? Some people are saying it's the, what do you call it? Peritoneum. It surrounds the other organs. These are not organs. Interstitium. They surround things. They're not things. Well, they are, but they're not organs. The pericardium and triple worm are the only organs that aren't organs. Heaven has nothing to do. Heaven is consciousness. Heaven is that which surrounds all things. It's too much to go into here. It's not the theme of today, but I want to show you this. 2,000 years before Christ, up to 3,000 years before Christ, off the coast of Scotland. See that cross? 2,000 years before Christ. North, south, east, west, and you've got heaven circling the center. The pericardium around the center, around the heart. They're all onto the same, they're not talking about heart and pericardium. These are just names we stick on this. The structure is the king, and so, we'll use names of organs and whatever. They're not. They're going to say that, the flying people of Papantla are going to be saying the god of the north, god of death, flowers, the god here. The left cross. Now, this is the Celtic cross, which the Church of Wicca would later take up and to use for their, and so the Church of Wicca, I'm not a Wiccan and I don't really care about it. I'm not into it. But, in the movies when I was a kid, it was always, spirit of the north, spirit of the south, come and help me. There's movies in the 80s that have this. And so, some people call these spirits, some people call them gods. I don't know what the people 2,000 years before Christ called them. Chinese would call them elements. And that's what I call them. Why these things? Why do some people call them gods? The flying people of Papantla, god of death, god of flowers, etc. Why do some people call them spirits? What do these have in common? Spirits, elements, gods. It's non-apparent reality able to transform apparent reality. So if you can move, this is the key here. The elements are structure beyond apparent reality. And I'll show you this today, beyond apparent reality. And if you can transform that structure, you're transforming apparent reality. And I need to give an example, but I'll do it after break. It is break time. Well, one thing, yeah, I'm adding too much here. I wasn't going to talk about all this, but this is my favorite theme. I love it. Here's another shot of the flying people of Papantla, so you can see them in action. What we're going to do, let's do something fun. I told you this is a technology. This is not the elements, I'm spiritual, I got fire tattooed on my butt. No, this is a technology that people used. And so neoclassical acupuncture, why is this called kind of round this out? Why is this called neoclassical acupuncture? Because it's not necessarily classical. It is classical, but it's a new look at the classical. It's a new look at classical concepts. Why do I say it's neo? Because I'm not trying to say this is a revolution. This is a resurgence of something that existed before. And I can, in the course, I spend an hour showing you they knew about this. This is not new. This was something they didn't want everyone to know. I guarantee you. Why? Because they're giving everything away once they tell you there's a sixth element. I figured it out in one freaking day. That doesn't take a genius. But once someone tells you there's a sixth element, and people are commenting on these flying people of Papantla. Yeah, think of the whirling dervishes. These people are upside down spinning. These are all, we're all talking about states induced to get into the unconscious. You've got to make contact with the unconscious to do this. And I'm going to show you this later. And the way I'll show you, here, let's do something. It's time for break, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, Donna, did we say 11:15 for a break? Ava saying, if we already open Meridian, what happens? I'll talk about that tomorrow. So what I want to do, Sam, are you here? Are you around, Sam? Look, yesterday I tried this with somebody in the eLotus office just to make sure I wasn't going to look like an idiot. This looks like just a stupid bar trick. But what I want to do, is there anyone there that has a camera with decent quality and has a pain in their body? They've got a problem, headache, backache. I'd rather not do something like where there's a bone broken because I can't fix it. But someone's got like bad migraine, backache, leg ache or something. Anyone? Anyone there? Okay, Kel, or Kali or Kel. Kel, anyone else? I want me like 2 people that can put their cameras on after break. Sam's going to send you a message just to make sure during break, because I have to see the person. What I just want to show you is a way, this is like one of my latest experiments. There's a way of using this technology to show you this is a technology. It's not magic, it's a technology. It's literally something people used a couple thousand years ago to do some crazy stuff. All right, so Donna, can you tell Sam if they can send, neck pain, migraine. So it'd be fun to do some back pain and migraine. Nisreen, do you have a camera? Sam, so if you're willing to put I have to be able to see you. If you're willing to put your camera on afterwards, after this break, Sam's just going to make sure you can get your camera on. Maybe Nisreen and Daijing and whatever. Maybe we can do all 4. It only takes a couple seconds. So I want to just show you this, to show you part of my goal in my life is to bring back a resurgence in the elements. I think it's fallen to the wayside as this kind of woo-woo mystical. We kind of use this in an NLP way. There's a power in the structure. And you can call it elements, you can call it spirits, you can call it gods. It's literally just non-apparent reality. It's a structure behind non-apparent reality you can use to change reality. So maybe back pain, the person with back pain, neck pain, after break, we're going to ask you to put your camera on. I'm going to try to do it quick because we got a lot of stuff to do today. Anyway, so break for 10 minutes, a 10-minute break. And Sam may contact you, or just if he doesn't, be willing to put your camera on if Sam asks you, because he's got to
Yeah,
give you
We're gonna
he's gotta
contact
give you
Daijing
what
and
he-
Nisreen during break. So you two, please stay around and we're gonna private message you. That way we can get you set up with your and please remember we will need your cameras on. So stay by your computer. We're gonna message you now. We'll go on break for 10 minutes and come back at 10:30. Sounds good? Perfect. Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you,
break,
Donna.
everyone.
Recording stopped.